you today?
I'm good. Everything's great. Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. Are you ready for chapter two?
Oh yeah, I was. The old saying, "I was born ready."
I love that phrase. I can
Yeah,
use it every time, every
right.
single day. But I'm not as much ready as you are. This is natural for you. I still get nervous in front of the camera.
Okay.
Anyhow, so today we're going to talk and we're going to try to help our audience learn more about the big differences in between two big adopter profiles, which are also markets and are buying behaviors. And they are the so-called mainstream markets and early markets. Um, and with our angle of the diffusion of innovations, right? And what that means for innovation. So we've been reading, you and me, Warren, about the Apple Vision Pro. They've just launched it at 3,500 um, dollars of average ticket, and I've been reading that there are some use cases of early adoption among B2B buyers, but there is a lot of skepticism also around. One of the use cases that I've been reading about is use the Apple Vision Pro to understand if you are rebuilding your kitchen, how is it going
Oh,
to look like when you have it, right? All the construction of the
oh,
kitchen and all of that. So instead of looking at 2D and two-dimensional um,
yep.
images, right? So you are looking with your Apple Vision Pro, and you can even walk through your new kitchen before this is built, and then you can move around, and then you can change things, which is going to be basically less expensive to change things because you are in design phase. You're not in construction phase. This is not the first time I hear that. Actually, this is something that you can do also with Oculus, right? Kind of the competition
Yep.
of Apple Vision
Yep.
Pro. But let's cut to the chase. What can we expect in terms of buying behavior, and about how people and markets is
Hmm.
going to react to the Apple Vision Pro when we look at the fusion of innovations?
Yep. Well, the the way I always think about the early market when something new comes and it's in that category that we call discontinuous. It makes people change, do things differently. Um, so those people that go first, y- what they essentially do is they make decisions without asking anyone. They don't talk to anybody else. They just act on their own. And you see, and I'm going to jump over for a second because in the mainstream, that's all they do is ask each other. So, what do you think about this? Is this good for you? Maybe it's good for me. I'm not sure. But, the early adopters, innovators, early adopters, they don't care what anybody else thinks, right? And
They're very
and
independent and they follow
they're
their own
very
dictate, right?
they are, yes. And they do it because they want to get ahead of everyone else. They want some advantage. Um, so
Even
it's
at a personal level, right? So
yep, yes.
most
Yeah,
of them want
yeah,
to stand out, want to use this to stand out from the crowd, to become a thought leader, maybe but to stand out in their own company, also among their peers, things like that, right? So there is kind of also this social dimension of the benefit that they are looking for also.
absolutely. Um, and it's so interesting. And this is, and we've talked about this. It's case by case. Every new innovation, people act in a different way. And it, y- you know, with this particular type of technology from Apple, those people are saying, "Look, I want to go first." In the mainstream, people are saying, "I want somebody else to go first. I want to watch you," uh, and it's like, "This is a dangerous place. I want you to walk across the street. If you don't get killed, then maybe I will walk across the street."
Right.
Right.
That's a good metaphor.
Right.
And
So.
And that also
Yeah.
translates to, I wanted you go first to figure out what can I do with this, right? The use cases and the applications. Whereas in the mainstream is, I have to be told what can I
Yeah.
do with this.
Yes. And uh, and that's also very interesting. In the early market, innovators and early adopters, they they are horizontally oriented. So they have this new capability from Apple. It's like, well, let's try it in 100 different ways. Maybe it's better for, as you had mentioned, maybe it's better for designing or refurbishing a kitchen, or maybe it's a construction application, maybe it's a
Mhm.
medical application. Innovators and early adopters will try it in many, many different ways. The mainstream, early and late majority, they want it built for a specific use case, and big difference. So lots of willingness to experiment early,
Okay.
lots of willingness to take risk, um, and then just the opposite as you move into the mainstream.
Mhm. So right now we can assume that mainstream buyers are just waiting to understand what can we do with this.
Absolutely. And they want, literally, they want um, a company to take Apple's technology
Hmm.
and turn it into a use case that has specific purpose and specific value for them, and they'll just wait for that. Um,
Hmm.
you, we may have talked about this before. We kind of watched Amazon try to develop a new interface with Alexa. It was designed to be voice, right? It was
Hmm.
okay. Interact with your computer, or any kind of device, and it's going to be voice based.
Hmm.
And Alexa, you've probably seen the results. It's not very good. They've lost. Amazon has lost a lot of money trying to make Alexa the new standard in computer interface. Um,
Hmm.
and they just did not follow the same model that they used when they were first getting started and became very, very successful. Is they didn't pick a use case. They tried many, many different things. I think it was appliances in your house, and maybe a weather station or something that could play music, or there are all these different things. They didn't pick a single use case that had a lot of value.
Hmm.
Um, so they know how to do it, but they didn't do it. And then Apple should also look to their history, where they actually made the Macintosh a mainstream product by focusing on a use case. It's called desktop publishing, but it's the same model that has led to success. And why it is companies don't essentially learn from that, I'm not sure. I don't know why.
Because they all want to become a platform right away, targeting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of use cases, right? And then most
Yeah.
probably you have sales saying, "Hey, we gotta sell this no matter what." It's
Yes.
counterintuitive, but it's what
It,
must be done
yeah.
because
And
it all comes down to risk perception, right? And
yeah.
let's talk about the angle of the risk perception.
Yes. So the the uh, um, the fundamental characteristic of innovators and early adopters is they're happy to take risk. And this is the fascinating thing. I noticed some early articles about innovators and early adopters with you know the new wearable Apple device, and it's actually doing some damage to their eyes. I don't know if you had seen that or not.
I don't think
It
so. I don't think I'm familiar with that case. What type
Yeah,
of device is it?
it's Apple's Vision Pro, and
Hmm.
if you wear it, I don't know if they're wearing it incorrectly or maybe they're wearing it for too long a
Okay.
time, then it's actually causing damage to their eyes.
Wow. Well, that's high risk right there.
That's exceptionally high risk, and I would think that that will be addressed, very quickly by Apple. But for someone to say, "Well, that's okay," I'll risk this possibility that my vision will be damaged or my eyes will be damaged because they see the possibility of of some dramatic advancement, dramatic advantage. But that's huge risk. That's massive risk to take. And innovators and early adopters are okay with that. Um, Again, over in the mainstream, not at all.
Mhm.
There has to be a very careful comparison of risk. What is the risk if I don't solve a problem? How much does that cause or create? What is the risk of using something new that I've never used before? All right. So it's a very carefully analyzed risk assessment, and it goes directly to choosing the one that has the lowest risk. Um,
Mhm.
if a new technology has a higher risk than living with a problem, then then the mainstream they'll just live with the problem. They'll go,
Mhm.
okay, I'm going to just keep suffering. I'd rather suffer than go and risk money and time on something that I just don't know about.
And also changing, because one of the dimensions of risk is the aversion to change. The brain is lazy by default, and mainstream adopters and buyers, which is most of any given market, it's 84%, right? Approximately, that
Yep.
follow the curve. They don't want to
Yep.
change, and that's another dimension of risk. Is you are making me change a lot, learn new things on
Yep.
top of high ticket, and don't understand how to use this and why to use
Yep.
this and where to use this, right?
Yep.
It's
Yep. Oh yeah.
that's the perfect formula to avoid mainstream adoption, right?
Yep.
Or
and,
to
and there's a great addressing your point about learning something new. There's a great quote from Everett Rogers, and he said, and I may not have the words exactly correct, but um, uh, the more someone knows about how to do something, the harder it is for them to learn to do it a different way.
can you
So
repeat that, please? I need to
yeah,
think
yeah.
twice about that phrase.
Yeah. So the
In
more you
words.
know, yeah, the more you know about how to do something, the harder it is to learn to do it a different way.
Yeah, because the higher the switching costs. You are
Uh, That's
you're too invested in the way you're doing
y-
it.
exactly. You're very much you've got experience, expertise, all kinds of what comes with time is what's called wisdom, right? You have the wisdom of how to navigate something and execute exceptionally well. And if you're very, very good at that, then here comes something new. Then it's awfully hard to let go of all that previous expertise and learn to do it in a new way.
That's actually also why mainstream customers, majority, they are also more loyal than innovators and early adopters, because innovators and early adopters will turn their eyes to the new shiny object that is providing them
Right.
this uh, advantage.
Yep.
But mainstream, they don't want to change. So once they invest in implementing a solution, in implementing uh, a new a new product, is going to be make them to switch to another one, right? You're gonna
Yeah.
screw up a lot.
Yes, and and that's a great point. A lot of mainstream customers will ignore new things that are better because they want to keep the method that they currently use. They want to keep it in place, and they absolutely will know that their current method is not as good, but that's okay. we we don't want to have to change. We don't want to have to learn how to do something different. Let's keep what we have, what we know, and make it last longer. And
Yeah.
so that's one of the challenges, in the mainstream, is how to navigate around what's called an incumbent, somebody who's really used in a lot of different industries. It's hard to get rid of them, very hard.
Hmm. And that opens in my mind this this case in which I remember one day that we discussed and we said Microsoft Office is boring. But then we go, but it's the market leader, and it's the market leader because it's boring, right? How is
Yes,
that?
yes. Well, okay, so you imagine, a while back when it was new and all of the people in the mainstream were talking to each other. It's like, do you use Word Perfect? No, I use Word. Oh, okay. And then, and through talking to each other and, the Microsoft products became established, and the other alternative products and things like Lotus Notes and and others, those all went away. Um, the Microsoft products become deeply embedded in everybody's workflow, and it's awfully hard to displace that. Um,
Mhm.
and you know, um, we we probably see that all the time. Asking someone to provide a document, in a different platform, and they send it to you as a Word document. Well, so that's me.
Yeah. And then comes
Uh,
Notion and all these platforms, which I love. I love to try, and I love kind of early adopter. But
yep.
then when I truly have to do something with customers, they go, no, no, what is this about Notion? You just send me a
R-
Google Doc or a PDF or a PowerPoint.
Uh-huh.
Let's do what I know to do, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, they're going to have
Yep.
a hard time. So as always, the key is you want to win. You got to find a use case in which you can beat Microsoft, not compete head to head with Microsoft. Notion in this
Yep.
case, right?
Right.
So it's
Right.
all about that. Now, sorry, you were saying
Oh no,
something.
I was just going to suggest that there's kind of a method of selling when you're in that situation that you just mentioned. When you're moving into the mainstream and you've got something that is going to fight against the incumbent, or you're looking to take your new approach, your new technology into the mainstream. You really need to do what is called diagnostic selling, and we can talk about that real quickly if that makes sense. It's related to how, how you navigate a beachhead segment when you're moving into the
Mhm.
mainstream.
Yeah, we can
Uh,
use the Apple Vision Pro example for
yeah,
for that case,
yeah,
and then if we don't have time today, we can open a new chapter just about topic if the audience agrees and if the audience is a topic that they would like to learn. But then
yeah,
I would like to come back to the Apple Vision Pros, um, because this is very tightly related with okay, Mr. Tim Cook, right? So
yeah,
we're going to advise Mr. Tim Cook. he he wants to become mainstream adopted in
yeah,
in companies, right? Which are the ones that have high budgets to pay $3,500 for this new innovation for the Apple Vision Pros. Now, what is our advice following the diffusion of innovations for Tim Cook? How do we sell it? And then,
Yeah.
of course, if the point is this approach to sell, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
we tell to Mr. Tim Cook?
Right. Okay. Well, his company, I should say, he was not there, but his company has been through that process. And what they did with the, you know, well, it was a transition from character-based interface to graphical user interface. That's a transition in the operating system with the Macintosh, and they went out and they completed the product by using other things that were very familiar uh, to a specific audience and a specific use case. So they partnered with Adobe. Adobe had uh, a well-known standard called PostScript. PostScript is the thing that basically was the language that controlled printers. But you see, Apple was targeting graphic designers. All of the graphic designers who were out there, they know about PostScript because they were creating all kinds of sales collateral and things that would be printed on a PostScript printer. So Apple goes and gets PostScript from Adobe. They put it into their printer that goes along with the Macintosh. They go and they get a specific niche application. It was called PageMaker. It was for graphic design of mostly newsletters.
Mm-hmm,
But okay, so they've created this core offering that's very focused on graphic design. It required at least two other companies to help them complete the product. They couldn't
mm-hmm,
do it just on their own.
mm-hmm,
They made use of that PostScript standard, which was massively adopted in the use case or in the target segment. Um, so that they put that all together,
mm-hmm,
and it was very successful. And I would say to Tim Cook, all right, what are the opportunities to do the same thing now? Now you're moving to a visual interface. It's different than the other interface that you've typically offered. And what is the use case? And who are the other companies that need to be partners so that you can actually offer a complete product?
mm-hmm,
And it's it takes a lot of work and investigation to look through different possible use cases. But
mm-hmm,
I think you and I, probably in other projects, have looked at ways that um, augmented reality, virtual reality
mm-hmm. We have several
could be
projects.
applied. Yep. So there are many, many, many possible use cases. It's all about where's the one with the highest value, and are the partners and the allies, are they available with the right thing that makes it an exceptionally compelling,
Mm-hmm,
use case product.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um,
So
so
let me summarize
yep,
takeaways, right? A
yep,
little bit,
yep,
which is Mr. Tim Cook. So on one side, we talk about in the first chapter, which is target market selection is so important to enter the mainstream and to become widely adopted and to get more sales, which is what you want to
yep,
build an unstoppable product, which means which is the audience plus use case or application, or if you want job to be done, in which you are going to provide the highest value and solve the most aggravating pain.
yep,
That's one point. Takeaway one. We talk about that chapter one. Now we're introducing the concept of the complete solution or the whole product concept, which
yep,
is an offering that most of the times you cannot build by your own, right? And it needs most of the times third parties, because it's the way in which you integrate perfectly with that audience workflow. So you have the audience, you have the use case, and now you need to provide a perfect integration with that workflow. And
Yes.
to make that happen, most of the times you're going to need partners analyzed in your ecosystem, right?
Yep. Yes. And look at the power of selecting a partner or ally that is well known, and that the component that they add to your complete solution is already in use. And it's a standard for the use case that you've decided to target. Okay.
Mm. That
So,
reduces dramatically the discontinuity, because it's
yeah,
something that is already in use in
yes,
the prospective client, and that's what you want to find, right? To
yeah,
reduce
absolutely. And it,
hesitations to buy, risk perception.
and that's the big one, is it reduces the perception of risk. Is, when something new comes along, and someone can go, oh, look, you're already using something that I've used a long time, and now
Mm.
it's, embedded in your solution. That's fine, but it's familiar. So,
Yeah,
big deal.
which is, yeah. I think we can came up with some examples here to help our audience understand what it is, right? So, for example, with uh, when we talk about the electric vehicle, we have vehicles, electric vehicle would be discontinuous, but then in the middle you
Yep.
have hybrid. The hybrid
Yep.
is you're using something that you already know how to use. That's why it's not fully discontinuous, right? Which is you can you can put gas, you can refill
It,
it.
yes, absolutely. And it's it's lower risk because it doesn't force you to go to the new method. If you don't want to use the electric side, you probably don't have to very much, right? I mean, you can just continue to see it as a gas car.
Hmm.
Yep. So it's way more familiar, low risk.
Hmm. Hmm. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And in your first example about Apple, it was embedding Adobe, right? And
Yeah.
this publishing tool inside the Macintosh. So
Yes.
they were leveraging a tool that was already well known and used by designers in order to reduce that risk perception, that discontinuity, and
Yep.
learning curve, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And and you and I have talked about this before. Amazon did the same thing by selecting books. You know,
Mm.
exceptionally familiar. And and the other thing is it's uniform. It doesn't change. A book that is about whatever strategy, it looks the same. It is the same. It doesn't change. um, you know, uh, Something by Kotler, or somebody who's really well known. What you're going to get, and so again, familiar plus a whole ecosystem that is supporting books and publishing, and
Hmm.
all of that is very familiar, very low risk,
Hmm.
even though the method of purchase and delivery from Amazon was different.
Hmm. And I'm going to introduce the last example, which I love because I used to work in Microsoft ecosystem, right? Which is we've talked about this is how Microsoft introduced their cloud, right? So when they started with the cloud, they didn't say, "Hey, let's fight head to head with Amazon Web Services," or with by that time Salesforce was quite successful because Microsoft had a huge positioning, very good positioning and market power as a productivity. He was called the productivity king and still is the productivity king, right? But also
Yep.
in operative systems, right? So the positioning was around operative systems and productivity. You can put operative systems inside productivity if you want, but now is you cannot say, hey, we're a cloud company, right? And then one of their offerings by that time was email, and it was this tool the exchange email, and then they say, okay, let's we want to start building our cloud and all of that. How do we start competing? Well, we don't start competing. That they tried also, but they pushed more to compete in moving to the cloud, everything related with productivity, Office
Yeah.
365, right? That their hard
Yeah.
push, and they were incentivizing all their 20,000, I don't know how many there are right now, partners all over the world to push Office 365 because it was the closest to how the market was perceiving them as experts. Their current
Yeah.
positioning, their current strengths were about productivity. So Office 365 was the next step to become a kind of cloud computing company. But now
Yeah.
the smartest move, and it was there when we were offering that as Microsoft partners, was Microsoft was incentivizing to start. They didn't say, "Hey, you get to start with everything. I want you to move the documents, the Word, the PowerPoint, the SharePoint, and the email to the cloud." It's like, okay, big change, end-to-end change, and I see around many of we are an end-to-end company. Well, that's the last thing that mainstream wants, right? What they say,
Yeah.
what Microsoft was incentivizing was, okay, the biggest aggravating problem in
Yeah.
B2B, in businesses, is the email. Because when the email fails, the CEO and everyone in management is going to complain. It's very, very painful to have a fail in the email. And then if you have the email in your infrastructure, they are going to say, hey, call IT. IT is the fault is IT's, right?
Yeah. Right.
So Microsoft was very, very smart.
Yeah.
And instead
Oh.
of saying, you gotta move everything to the cloud, is no, I'm going to solve this very specific pain and problem for you, the use case
Yeah.
of email management. Let's start moving your email to the cloud, and you'll
Yeah.
see how the cloud is going to help you solve that aggravating pain that you are having right now. And then we'll talk after you have the email in the cloud. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden
Yeah.
you see that they started adopting this case because it was a huge problem, and then they land and expand. The next use case
Yeah.
is, okay, now let's upload the documents. Let's do document management in the cloud. Once you have the
Yeah.
document management in the cloud, which was OneDrive, let's
Yeah.
start writing in the cloud your documents, which is
Right.
Office and which is PowerPoint and all of that. So they were exactly following the adoption curve to penetrate and to move Office 365 into the mainstream, and not doing, this end-to-end move. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
wanted to
yeah.
share that example.
And and that example is the perfect illustration of the selling method. Really, if you think about it as a selling method, kind of like a diagnostic sales cycle where you go in and say, we understand what your problem is, and um, and this is why your current method is not working. However, there is this cloud technology that will, really change the game, specifically to the problem you're having. And, our offering is that method for, changing the game in the problem setting that you have. And, so it's, that's the
Fantastic.
sales presentation right there.
Right. Yeah, I like that.
Uh,
Well, uh, I think we're running out of time for this today's show. I
okay.
hope that our audience has enjoyed the show. I hope all this is are good learnings. And if you have any questions, you know how to reach us out in YouTube. Actually, here, if you're looking at us, you can follow our YouTube channel there with more videos, more education, and we'll see you in the next chapter of the podcast, the unstoppable product. So if you want to build an unstoppable product, highly differentiated, that everyone wants and loves in your market, we're here to help. See you in the next chapter. Warren,
Thanks.
it's
Hey,
been
thanks
great.
so much. Yep. I
Thank you so
enjoy it.
much. Yeah, me too. Me too. This
Yeah.
these talks are fantastic. I think that we enjoy more than the audience.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Talk to you.
See you.
Thank you. See you.